I try and like use the material. Well, I don't analyze when I say it. So you miss the bad jokes in the material.
Okay.
We're going to get started?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get the welcome. Come on in.
Thank you.
We're just getting started.
No, we see you at this time. I see you at all the workshops.
We'll probably have some more people coming in, I'm sure. My name is Eric Wilson, and I have been with that one. We can start. I started CVC. I don't want to do shit as CVC. CVC, California Virtual Campus Certified Trainer. I don't know what it says. Oh well. I'm glad you're here with me. I'm lucky to have my buddy Marty Atkinson. We've been working together for she's been my moderator on with some online workshop and a lot of stuff. So I'm glad to have her with me again. She's fun to work with. Today we're going to be talking about training with illustration. I'm going to do some demonstration, but before we do that, let's get started here. By the time we finish this workshop, you'll be able to know what works and what does not work. Hey, come on in. Thank you. And how we can illustrate material, basically how to illustrate training. And how many of you are trainers? Are you guys training faculty, staff? Okay. All right. And how we can make training come to life. There's one of the things that faculty do is they find training boring and stuff, or they're hesitant. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So when going to training, I'll always use clickers here, but how many of you say when you go to training, I prefer a trainer to show us how much they can, or what they can. That was the training, and they're just doing it, and then the training, then they're blabbering. How many guys go to that kind of training? Come on in. Starting off the floor.
No, we realize it.
It's okay. So how many of you would prefer a trainer show us as much as they can? In other words, they just talk and show and tell a bit. I think so. How many of you prefer a trainer show us the topics in 10 minutes and do hands-on for 15, 20 minutes? Now we're getting there. Okay. How many prefer a trainer with a book? Really? Really? Okay. Interesting. How do you prefer training online? Okay, so the hands-on was the winner here. And actually, I've been training Blackboard and WebCG and all this stuff for about 10 years at Orange Coast College. And we tried so many methodologies. And we just figured out the hands-on is what brings people to the workshop. They really love it. And so what I've been doing, in fact, I just finished my first series last week. Outstanding reviews from every topic and everything. It was a 3-day workshop, actually 3 mornings, so the air conditioner was on. But they won't come unless the air is on. And they won't come unless there's Hershey's in there. That is chocolate, okay? It works. Chocolate works. But when you had a talk about 15 minutes, and then they get to do hands-on, have a walk around, and then help the youth, and they really like that. So that's what they prefer in training. But we're going to go beyond that. Majority of people prefer hands-on. So what we've got to talk about, though, is the material. And I have been producing materials for a long time. I've done over 300 different kinds of materials. So I'm developing training for, you know what EBRT is? That's like Banner, PNI, the data towel. So they run the business rules for the schools. Okay. What's that?
The market administration stuff.
Yeah. The Banner, that's what's very PeopleSoft.
Well, we have Banner.
Yeah, Banner's just almost everywhere. Banner was bought out by Datatown, so things are going to be changed over the next 4 to 5 years. You're going to see that. Yeah. So, more changes means
sorry to hear that.
But no, that means it's good. I mean, I got my job.
Oh, okay.
I get to train more. Yeah, anyway. I've done a lot of training just on online learning. I have a master's degree in online learning, so I help teach people how, as a faculty, you know, what you need to do, what doesn't work, what does work, experiments, and that kind of stuff. and I've been doing WebCT and Blackboard and Moodle. And so with all of those, I've gone from traditional materials, you know, words, pictures, everything, to web-based. I use Dreamweaver, and I made a nice search. They don't like it. No. They don't want web-based. They don't want training stuff. They want quick steps. How to do it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? And it took me a long time to figure that out because they wouldn't tell me what they want. Okay? You give them the material, and they go, that's it. They don't touch it. It stays on the desk, collects dust. It might even have muffin crumbs on it. Okay? They won't eat it at all. They don't. Or they take it and they say thank you, and they punch 3 whole pipes and they put it in the binder, and then it stayed on the shelf for 5 years and turned color. You know? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. They want step by step. And one of the things you could do that I learned from my aha moments. How do you guys remember Oprah's aha moments? Okay, most people don't know what that means. That means, oh, the light bulb just went on. Okay? And my dad started in the computer when he was 55. Okay? He's now 75, 76. And oh my God, I don't want to get last year was my hard time learning this stuff. But anyway, I used to give my dad my textbook on Windows. And this is like Windows 98, you know, Office, the real bad Office methods and all that stuff that you couldn't find anything. And he would do the same thing. Thanks, son. I'll put that on the shelf. And he won't do that. He won't touch it. Okay? Then I got to look at his bookshelf in his office. And I mean, we're talking walls of books. And he had visual books, visually Windows. And I said, well, duh, I'm doing this all wrong. And that's when I developed to do pictures, tell the steps. And that was what clicked. So last year I experimented and I made some illustrative stuff using different programs. I'll show you in a minute. And I wrote 2 sets of material. I wrote one as words, stuff, awesome crap, yuck. Then there was stuff that's just pictures. You look into a paragraph, make 3 or 4 sentences, 3 or 4 sentences, that's it. Pictures, arrows, all that stuff. And guess what won the most award? The pictures. The fact that you never touched the other stuff. Now, here's the bad part. IT, in my information technology department, they don't like it. They don't want me to use the illustrated one. And I said, you know what? I don't work for you. I work for the faculty. So they're going to get illustrated whether you want it or not. So here's what I did. The adult learners learn more through visual learning. They wanted less blah, blah, blah. Less like blah, 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 blah. They didn't want that stuff. More pictures, more shows. Take us back to the basics. Tell me and I'll forget. Show me and I may understand. Involve me. I'm sorry, and I will understand. I will understand. Okay? That's an old Chinese proverb. We should all know that by heart, right? As trainers. So again, how many trainers? We got more people here. Cool. Okay. So here's what I used. I always have to have some way of a draft of steps and how I do it myself. So the first thing I do is I use a web-based program called MindMeister, which is a mind mapping software. Because I didn't want to spend a lot of money on the like good quality ones that are like $300, $400. That's education price, by the way. And MindMeister is $25 for academic. That $25 is the same thing as their $50 package. So you get unlimited space, unlimited stuff, and I can share with people. So I can make a mind map, and I can, let's say Marty and I were going to do a class on CCT Confer. I can make a mind map of how we should do it and share with her, and she could go in, move stuff around, all of that kind of thing. And then we could collaborate. So I always do that first, and then I use a program called Snagit. How many of you heard of Snagit? Okay.
I've been using that.
Yeah, exactly. We all know Snagit that way. Yes. But if you don't have Snagit, I have some demos just behind you. I had text messages send me some bunch of stuff. Help yourself. Education price is unbelievable. Do yourself a favor when you buy it. Get the Snagit and the Camtasia together because you save a lot of money when you get those in a bundle. Okay? Snagit is my favorite, and I'll show you why just a little bit. And it's now available for Windows and Mac. I'm a Mac fan. I love Apple. So when I say Mac testers, no! I was the first one on the test. Then what I do is I take a screenshot of the steps. But then I do a bunch of stuff. But I save it as a Snagit file first. Because you save the JPEG, it does what's called flat. And you can't go back and edit. Okay? You may make a change or something like that. And you want to go back and shoot all over again. Okay? So I save it as a Snagit project file first. And then when I'm done, I know it's ready, I go back and resave that PNG. Because the PNG has the sharpest colors. Okay? Now I put the picture. The pictures are the pieces of puzzle at this point. Now this is one method. I'm going to show you another method in a minute. I use Quark Express. I use Word too, but Word is very limited. And I don't like that limitation. I've been a graphic designer. I used to design stuff for Kinko's and stuff. And I'm so used to having page layout, what's called. And people have asked, well, why don't you use Publisher? And I said, well, Publisher only works out Windows, but that's the Mac users. And I didn't want to make it limited. And Quark Express has always been my favorite page layout software. It was well, PageMaker was my first. Then Quark. I don't like InDesign. InDesign is just overkill. Quark Express is easy. But I can use Word if I need to. But every time I do a manual, they come out PDF to the faculty. It then doesn't matter what they're using. They're using an iPad, if they're using an iPhone, whatever they do to capture that instruction. And then I store it on the SharePoint. Here's the next one up. SharePoint is our server, Orange Coast, where we store stuff. And so I can put PDF files in there and nobody can edit it except me. Okay? Now, there is another new software out, so you may have heard of it, and it's called Clarify. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but I will do a demo of that too. It's $25, and it does kind of what I usually do in similar, smaller steps. And files are shared on their website. But you can also make PDF files, or you can send those files to Evernote. It allows you to create screenshots, annotations, and you do a step-by-step flow. And I'll show you how that works too. Okay? So what I'm going to do, before I go further, do you have any questions? Do we have any questions from the board? Are they awake? Yeah.
I would just find out, have you used Snagit for Mac yet?
Which one?
Snagit for Mac. Because
that's what I have on here.
Oh, okay, because I've been doing screen captures on my Mac, taking them over to a PC, loading them in so I can get the mouse cursor to show, and then taking my Snagit picture.
Yeah.
So I haven't tried the Mac version.
The Snagit for Mac, that's where I've always done my stuff, and it works beautifully.
Okay.
Hey, I'm going to do a demo of that just today. I have a 30-day trial, but today I didn't want to take my license off, keep other computers at home in my office, because when I get back to my office, I know there's going to be a stack of requests of stuff for me to make. So, I'm going to go ahead and here's going to come to Snagit, come down to an image file like that, and you drag it to the application like most Mac experts know. Now, let's say I want to make an illustration. I know. You know what? I'll just use the CCT for first screen. Let's see. Here's what it looks like. Does everybody see that, right, Marty? Okay. Yeah. So, let's say I want to make a little step-by-step what everything is for example. This is an example, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go my application folder, and I'm going to use Snagit. Now, mine's going to be a 30-day trial, so it may give me that 30-day trial warning. Open. I should have done this last night, but I was so exhausted last night from all the fun yesterday. Okay. Here is the, once you have it loaded up, this looks just like the Windows version. You have that little sign, go down to start, and we'll finish installing. Oh, let me get you Jing. Okay, now just, this is a little different from Jing. Okay, Jing is a screen capturing also, very limited. I would use Jing only if I have a faculty who is really, really, really lost and just don't get it, and then I'll make a quick little 5-minute Jing video or less. And then I'll send them that link. And then they go, oh, shucks. Okay. So here, see, I'll slide down. It's over on the right side. There it is. Now, the new version of Snagit also allows you to create small videos. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
So, I haven't used Jing, but I've heard about it on another workshop. But how limited is it compared to this?
Which one?
Jing.
How does it compare?
You say it's real limited, but like...
Well, let me take a screenshot and let me show you the studio, and I think that's where you'll see the difference between what Jing does and what this one does.
I heard
Okay.
somebody said in another session that Jing's going away.
Yeah.
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 Does that make sense? Let me just do a demo so you can see what it looks like. Jing is really for on-the-fly quick stuff. You gotta get that one. Okay. This is a cool tool for getting stuff done. So I'm gonna click on the camera, and your mouse becomes what's called a lens. See the crosshair? That your mouse is now what's called the lens. So you designate what you want to take a picture of. So I want to go. Now sometimes you do it completely like that. It's just zeroed in. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm just going to go ahead and draw over this stuff. And once I release the mouse, out comes the studio. This is the studio part. You see the stuff that's on over on this side over here? You don't find all those in Jing. The only thing that's in Jing is a red arrow, a small little state box, and one other thing. There's like 3 or 4 things. I can't remember what it is. In here, you got a lot of stuff. So, let's say I want to use this say here. I call it a say box or a thinking box or call out. They call it call out. Remember the Charlie Brown shows? Charlie Brown comics? There you go. So I'm going to click on that and click. Oh, I got to tell which version I want. Duh. I got to see the whole bunch here. Okay. There it is. Okay. Now I can. You see this area right here? That's what I call a pointer. I want to point to where the participants. Okay. All I have to do is click and hold and drag that up to here and stretch. Okay. Now I'm still not done yet. I'm going to double click. It becomes a text box inside the shape. These are the participants. Okay. And let's say I want to move down a little bit. Let's say this one here, I don't want to do this. Whoops. See what happens? I make a mistake all the time. I forget to deselect. Now I can make another one. But now I want to say like a kind of like a warning type of thing, okay? So I'll put this here.
Eric?
Yeah.
People are requesting online you repeat the questions from the audience because they can't hear them.
What are they, deaf? I'm the deaf one here, that's them. I will repeat the question for y'all. Did you want me to repeat it in the past?
Huh?
Did you want me to repeat the question that we just
I've been trying to type them in. If the yes says yes, I'm deaf.
Okay, so we got slide out of kind of line. Okay, now this one will say, don't forget to choose phone or VoIP. Okay, now I would use those colors if I were you. First of all, yellow is definitely not ADA compliant. Okay, that's Yellow is not good. I had one person hit yellow text on their Blackboard welcome screen, and I went, what is this, a vision test? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this one here. And then I'm going to go over here. Now down here is properties. So I can change that orange to another color. Okay? And as you do that, notice on the bottom of the top screen here, where it says like the hyphen with a plus, those are your customized ones, and it remembers it, so you don't have to keep doing this over and over again. Okay? Now, the text. Woo! Let's change the text. So, got that selected still with a font, and then Apple is going to use the same old font, Apple screen. Windows is going to use the same one. It's kind of like a Word, so it's pretty much limited. So I'm going to change that to, let's see, I'm going to use I want my color crayon. I love my color crayon one. There we go. We got blue, let's use blue. Oops. I forgot to highlight the fonts, forgive me. There we go. And again, that's stored in the same customized site. Okay? Now, this is the arrows. There's lots of arrows there. And unfortunately, because of the resolution of this projection system, it's pretty tight. There's quite a bit of different kinds of arrows. Okay? But you gotta learn which direction to shoot the arrow. Because it goes all directions. And let's choose the first one. I'll go. See, it's left to right. Okay, that's your start point is to right. That's the default direction. But you have double-headed. You got orange. You got a big one. You got steps and that kind of stuff. And again, you can change the colors on those. I would stick with red as much as I can because it stands out. Okay, I avoid black. I avoid real dark purple, real dark blue, just because some of my faculty and students and all of us don't have good vision. Oh, Mario, look at. I just went trifocals. Okay, my father says, "Welcome to the Old Farts Club." I said, "Thanks, Dad." But people who have glasses, they may not be able to see some of those colors or vision colors. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go to File. I'm going to Save As. And I really recommend, if you're going to be doing a bunch of these, that you have some kind of file management system. Very important, because it's a great way to go, where did I put that? What file was that? So, what I should do from this is a screenshot. I'll put SCR screen, snag it. No, it wasn't snag it. It was, see? I'm already doing it. GCC Confer panel. Okay. And look, see, I'm not going to go to PNG. This is where you got to be really careful. You got to make sure you save it as a snag project first. If you automatically put it in PNG first, you will not be able to modify it again because it flattens it. Does that make sense? Do you understand what it's flat?
Calling it PNG?
PNG. Right there.
Oh, portable network graphics. You don't want to do that? No.
At first. Because snag files look at it this way. When you do a Word file and you save the Word document, you can go back and make changes and edits. If you don't want to make changes like a final, you can make it to a PDF. Okay? In this case, I'm going to use it to save the snagit file, because then I can go back, change the, and that kind of stuff. Because maybe they might change some policies, or maybe they might change a little bit of rules or whatever, or maybe I just spelled the word. Unfortunately, I don't have a spell checker.
Actually, didn't it? It does now. That was,
it does?
Yeah.
When you misspelled hard, it noted it.
Yes.
Well, shoot. Where is it? In the edit?
So,
No, it popped up.
When you misspelled the word, it
It popped up.
Oh, it doesn't apply. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right. I take that back. I'm wrong. It says spell check on the fly. You're correct. So that's a good thing.
It didn't used to. You're correct. It did not used to. The version I have does not do that.
Yeah, well, I can make a lot of spelling errors.
So what version do you have?
I don't have the version for the Mac,
What? Oh,
which is the newest.
Yeah. Do you have Windows?
I have both.
You have them. Okay. We're just talking about version of the Snagit, and I think spell checking uses both. You're right. This is just updated last month. So it does have a spelling check on the fly. The Windows already has spell check on the fly for a little while before this one. So I think it was one of those little maintenance updates and stuff. So, all right, I'm going to go back to File, Save As, and then I'm going to make a folder. I'll always have a folder called Project or something like that, and I'll just make it a folder Projects. And then I'm going to make another folder called Screenshots. Okay, and this is going to be Snagit Project, so I'll call it Screen, CCC Comfort, Panel, and if I'm going to do a series of them, I do the number based on what the step is. So if it's step 1, it's going to be CCC Comfort 1. So I match it, so I know where I am. Okay. Now, I've got the screen, CCC Comfort 1. Now I'm going to say, I want to now put in Save As, and this is what we'll use for importing to Quark or Word. And what I do to keep myself sane, and I mean sane, not insane, sane. See, save the file name as is, so it's the same place. And I hit save, just change that format, and I'll show you something. What am I going to tell?
That's under Snagit. When I
File.
Well, that's Snagit. I don't have to. Oh, here it is. Okay. Screenshot. Okay, now it's going to be kind of hard to see up there, but you can see they're the same name. So if you look to under where it says kind, you can see it. Also, if you have there's one screen that's on the Windows I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah, that's the Windows version. The Windows versions will have the JPG versus PNG.
watch out though, on Windows the default is to hide the extensions so you wouldn't see it anyway. So you have to go in and specially select don't hide extensions for known file types. Otherwise you get that same stupid way of doing it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The gentleman here is saying that Windows, especially Windows 7, is that you hide, you have to tell it to show extensions. Extensions are like .png, .snagit.proj, and those are not shown in Windows, so you have to tell it to turn that on. On the Macintosh, it hides it, but if you turn on the Macintosh preferences and the system preferences to show all extensions, which I do here, you can do it. But you can also do it in the view kind right here. Okay? So that's where that falls in. And that's why it's also so critical that you develop some kind of file management system. And also some kind of system will get backed up quite a bit, because as you work on the project, you got to make sure your assets for your project are always backed up somewhere else. My stuff is on Dropbox. I use Dropbox.com, and everything on there is backed up every night. I don't have to worry about it. It's with me here. It's with me at school. It's with me at home. And I can get it from my iPad on the train. Doesn't matter. I have access to it. Okay? So now, how do I put the pieces together? Let me go ahead and I'm going to quit Snagit. And then I'm going to bring up Quark. It might take a little time. Bear with me. Because we're trying to get the projector to work with this wonderful thing. And then I'll show you Clarify. And then I'll answer a question while we're waiting for Quark to come up. This is Quark 9.3. So if you have any questions while we're waiting for Quark to load up, so far, everything does it make sense? There are other screenshots and screen capturing software. I recommend staying with Snagit. It just does a fantastic job with all the different tools that it has, and it's really good for education. The other screen ones are not as high resolution, don't have all the arrows and the call-outs that I've seen. It's really good.
Clarify if, is that what you're talking about?
That's going to be next in a minute. Yeah, clarify it, yeah. It's, we'll talk about that in a bit. That's a great one.
I've been using Snagit since it was free.
I'm sorry?
I've been using Snagit since it was free.
Good. It ain't free now.
Not anymore, but I actually sent them money because I liked it so much, even though it was free. I sent it to TechSmith and said, I love your product.
That's what I did, Kim. I just loved it. I didn't care how much it cost. I just say that to them because I know Jack has a price.
Yeah, well, then they did. But it's still not bad. It's still not bad for what you get.
$29?
Yeah, it's still not bad for what you get.
But what it does is $29 is not bad at all. Okay. So looking at the Quark. Quark is a very powerful page layout software. And you do need to learn how to use it. I'm not going to go into too detailed. But again, the reason why I like it is I get all the flexibility. I get to control where everything goes. I don't like having images, image 1, image 2, image 3 like that. I like to go image 1 and then maybe go here to image 2. Makes the eye flow go. Don't have it going straight down. It's boring. I want to make it alive. So remember, the first 3 minutes is when the faculty look at something and decide, is this recyclable or is this readable? It's just the first, not 3 minutes, it's like the first minute. Now, it's like all screenshots going down. Most of them, I don't think they're going to go for it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put it in, let's see here. I'll put a title here. I'm making a title box. Using CCC Confer panel. There it goes in. You know, I have a mouse. I don't want to use the mouse recipe. Enough wires around it. Then we'll go down here, look at all my fonts. All that kind of stuff, okay? So now, I'm going to bring in a picture. We'll File, Import, oh, this is funny. The screen image is kind of.
Remember, we had to change the resolution for the monitor.
No, this box is screwed up because of the projection. Let's see if I can do. Here it is, project. Snagit. PNG. There it is. Okay. And then I'm going to bring it a little bit, squeeze it down. And that's basically how you do it in Quark. Yeah, it's not coming through. Anyway, let's do it one more time. Let's try the frame picture. Do it one more time. I'm not going to waste too much time. That's not how we do it. I've never seen this before. Have you, Marty?
I don't use Quark. I gave up on it. The learning curve was too much for me.
That is weird. Anyway, you want to do? I'll just use Word. I'll just use Word and we'll just bring it over there.
I use Word a lot or Photoshop.
I'm curious, has anybody ever tried Scribus?
I'm sorry, what?
Scribus, S-C-R-I-B-U-S. It's an open source page layout that works on Mac and Windows and Linux. I don't know if you ever tried
Like, the brain?
No, not LibreOffice. It's called Scribus, S-C-R-I-B-U-S.
Oh, okay.
S-C-R-I-B-U-S. And I think it's .org. Let me check to make sure. I don't think it's a .com.
Cool.
Yeah, just subscribe to that.
No, it's open source. You can download it for free. And it's a page layout program.
S-C-R-I-B-I-O-U-S?
S-C-R-I-B as in Baker. U as in umbrella.
I thought you said V, like
I did it too.
No.
It's the
Hold on, I'm trying to get the
root word is subscribe.
I'm trying to get the
Subscribe.
.net.
Subscribe.
I had not seen her guys in a long time. I gotta play with that one. Oh, that's been around for a while. Yeah.
No, yes, they're quick.
Okay, we should bring the picture into here, see if it works now. There we go. So, let's go down to...
That's open source desktop publishing.
Okay, now, here in Word, if you notice, there's one is in color and one is kind of grayed out. Which one do you think is the Snagit file?
Grayed out.
Grayed out, right. Because it's not going to understand that. So I'll bring in. So there you go. And you can change the file size a little bit, but when you do that, when you change the file size, be careful with the callouts, because that gets too something that gets too small. So what I usually do when I do screenshots and Snagit, I might go a little above and beyond the area to make a bigger callout and use a bigger font. That way I can shrink it. I have shrinkage leverage with a little space in there. So that's what I would recommend if you're going to use like Word, Scribe, or any other stuff that is not page layout. That's just a little tip for you.
So once you've assembled this, then you ultimately would, if you're doing it in Word, save it as a PDF?
Yes. Yes. That way it doesn't get modified or changed without you knowing it. Because sometimes I find people changing things without us knowing it, and it could be completely wrong. And everything I do, I verify with either Blackboard, @ONE, or because I have a lot of resources that I verify. And it's not just IT. Sometimes IT doesn't know all the information, and we teach them too. So I keep it within my own realm. That's my job. I'm a trainer. It's my responsibility.
The new version of Adobe Acrobat will allow you to edit the PDF file.
Right, but that's true. But it's a little bit tricky. Trust me, my staff don't know how to do that. They don't know how to do it. But that's the point. One of the things I'm planning to do is my next phase I have to find out is maybe just make it just on the web. And that's it. Let's just put up a web page.
You can just reject the file too, but that's an extra step.
Yeah.
The nice thing about it is using it in Acrobat is that your formatting stays together, right? Yeah.
It's just it's universal language. That's why.
Also, your captions, if you put captions in for that, and you then put it into a PDF, the caption stays with the PDF.
Yes, in Acrobat 9 and 10, but in the earlier version there was problems.
It does now.
What she's saying, everybody online, is that in the Acrobat, if you put caption in the pictures within Word, it will carry over to PDF during the PDF conversion. However, you must use the Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat conversion, not the PDF converter that comes with Microsoft Office.
Right.
That one will not work. The caption part disappeared. It's just and plus, you don't really want to use Office PDF converter. It's a very low resolution. It's very hard to read. So the way you PDF on the Windows is you have to have Acrobat Professional installed. You go to File, you go to Print, change the printer to Adobe PDF, and then do it that way. Don't use the PDF converters in there because they're just really low resolution. Okay? Just a little tip for everybody. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and show you Clarify Edge. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it actually, because the menu is kind of, darn it. There is a camera that's supposed to be up here, but because, again, the screen, the resolution, it looks like a camera. It looks like this one. I'll show you. This guy. Now, put it away. So cute. And you can, they have a 30-day trial. Windows and Mac. They have a 30-day trial, fully functional. You can try it. To clarify it. There it is. See it right next to it disappears. Okay. This is what it looks like. Now, this is the part you have to kind of teach yourself to the way it works. Okay? I stalled a second last night with my lights, and now there's a new update of it. I'm going to skip. I'm not skipping it now. Okay. Always do the upgrades. Always, 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 always. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Eliminate. You still call it Eliminate? I thought it said Blackboard Collaborative. I know. Okay. Looks familiar. I check the camera. It looks like Snagit almost, a Snagit lens, right? So I'll go here and drag down the panel again. Now click on the camera. Okay. Now, the program is pretty good to kind of guess what you're doing. Okay, so if you look over there, you've got to name the image. I'm going to double click in subject and call this using CCC Confer panel. Okay. This one, that's the image, and that's where this is all right here. This came from. That's where you can say step 1 if you want to, or you can just say 1. Or you don't have to. I don't use the word step 1. If I'm going to put them in, it's going to put it in order the way it has to go anyway. So why bother numbering? Okay. So I'm just going to say top part of panel. No. Participants. List. And then double click where it says add paragraph here. Now watch what happens. This is where you get your writing format, your bold, italics, all that stuff, okay? So here, I will go in this panel, you will see who is in this meeting online. And then I can click on the outside. Here's my arrow. And I can go like this. You can't go like this. You got to stay within the image. Okay? So that's a little limitation right there. Okay? And then I'm going to do another one, which shows the next step about the VIP. So now I'm going to do another screenshot. So that's a step. So that allows you, okay, now let's say that is. That allows you to add a step before you take a screenshot if you want to, if you want to make a placeholder. So if you have to wait to get permission to get a screen or whatever it might be, you can put it there too. Because then you can go back here and take a screenshot by clicking on the camera, and then it goes back to your lens. So now, I'm just going to highlight this area with a little bit of leverage there. Click on the camera, and I'm going to change this to audio system. Be sure to choose between phone bridge or VoIP by clicking the microphone button. Okay. Eric. All right. Now I'm going to save the document. Save as. See, now it clarifies it forces you to use some kind of file management system. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click Create Folder and expand it. This is what I'm used to. There we go. And I'm going to call usually Clarify Document. Click Save. Okay? Now, I don't have my online account on this one, so I'm just going to, if you put it online, you can do a share. It's free, and it makes a nice, very nice web page. I'll show you the PDF version in just a few minutes, and then you can see what that looks like, and it's very much like the online version. This PDF over here works very well. Okay, I'm going to click on Export PDF, and I'm going to hit just leave it as is. And usually it's supposed to bring it up to you immediately. Oops. There you go. This is what it's going to look like. Okay. You have the title, the directions, participant list. Okay. It only skips pages because there's so much room. But this is where it goes up and down the left side. But the text in between, don't use blah, blah, blah. Just use short, simple, and sweet. And that, in fact, as you guys saw me seeing with Barbara Cooper, who was with me, we decided from this point on, we're going to use this system. Because it's a lot less steps involved than what I showed in the first one. And plus, she likes the flow. She likes the flow. It'd be like a reference card, basically, it's like. Okay? So that's Clarify It. So you have a couple options here. If you like to do desktop publishing type of thing, like graphics, you want to like to have all the freedom of snag it, then you can use snag it, save it as a snag proj file, and then export it again. Once you've done, put it into PNG. I recommend PNG. Yes?
The guest online wants to know what file formats will Clarify save to?
It's a proprietary Clarify file. And that's why you can only export to PDF, web, or you send it to Evernote if you have Evernote account. Okay. So that would be and then you bring your pictures into whatever program you use to finalize the puzzle, put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then PDF it. Okay. I do not recommend handing out your Word document. I do not recommend handing out your originals. Only the PDF lockdown or web-based HTML. Okay? Or Clarify It. I am finding Clarify It easier, and it's actually a little fun. I can do it real quick. Okay? So, and that is what I use. I also use Jing for the quick on the fly because if people need something really important.
I have a question. Can you do an audio file with either Clarify or Snagit? You can't. It's strictly.
No. Neither one of them accept audio. The Snagit. The question is, can you use audio? Can you make audio files and Clarify It? The answer is no. Can you make audio files and Snagit? And the answer is no. The movie feature Snagit is only for moving your screen, kind of like a little small spin down of Camtasia without audio. That's the difference. If you want audio, use Jing or Camtasia. Okay. I will tell you the Camtasia for the Mac is still kind of building. It's not at its full potential yet, but it does do a good job with basics. If you want the full thing, you're going to need to use the Windows version of Camtasia if you want to do that.
The most recent one I just saw, too, of Camtasia, it has a built-in voice recognition for captioning.
Yes. The one in Windows is better. The Mac version is not quite there yet. They're going to be using Nuance, Dragon speaking technology into that for the Mac version. We have Camtasia workshop for that one, I believe. We've had some. I know there's going to be some more, and I've seen them. They're really good workshops. And then one you can take out on your office, on your desk, close the door, or put a sign that says, leave me alone. Don't buzz me. I'm learning. But we have some really good Camtasia workshops up there, Mac 1. That's a great place to learn. And there's also lots of neat training materials and text in this website as well. Really are.
Oh, I'm going to put up the survey.
Well, go ahead.
Also, please
You can tell how bad I was. I was awful. Yes.
I just wanted to ask about your philosophy in training faculty, the screenshot versus using Camtasia and creating videos. So I just find that the creating the videos is more time consuming, and then you have to, there's more work in making it accessible, and then by the time you get it done, the technology's changed and you've taken so much time to create it. So this seems, to me it seems like what you've shown today is very practical. People like it's effective. The videos are great, but the time it takes to do that is...
I will tell you, actually Donna, I was in Donna's video class on Wednesday? On Wednesday. And she said, and then this is perfect, by the way, if you ever take Donna's class, you've got to take Donna Eystone. She is wow. She is the best. We were taking the Adobe Premiere, and she said most faculty want this. They don't want the movies. The only one that I found that has to do the movies are the ones that don't want to read. Or they just want to have some animation because, especially Blackboard, we got a lot of screens and stuff. Yeah.
Eric,
Yeah.
Maria Online wants to know if clarify accepts international characters like the E.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. We're going to definitely look into that, or you can look at Clarify's website and see if it does. That's a good question. I don't know. There might be an international version of the software as well. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to have to redo our Blackboard student orientation this summer.
We always have to, honey.
Yeah.
Here.
And so I've been looking at doing it in Camtasia because I think they do want, the students do want a video with either the presence of another student or the presence of a faculty member as part of the showing them how the orientation. And then I have faculty who will then require them to watch the orientation the first week of class.
Okay, tell us a couple different things there. So what she's saying, everybody, is that she's thinking about using Camtasia to redo the Blackboard orientation
For students.
for the students. And that's usually what most of the orientation, what I'm hearing, are using. I would do, or maybe some videos. But you also might want to take like a Blackboard on demand. They have student stuff now on Blackboard's website. And they're on demand, and they're very well done, and they've done a fantastic job making their own videos. And you can link them. Just link to that.
We have CE8, so I don't know what they have up there for CE8. I'll check.
Yeah. For the faculty do like the Blackboard videos because they're very short, only 3 minutes or less. From Blackboard on Demand's website. We are in a part where we just want to make step by step now. We don't want to do blah, 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 blah. And that's what they really want. Simple, straightforward. KISS. Keep it super simple. Basically what it boils down to. Now, my dad has another way of saying, I'm not going to say it to you guys.
Well, if you have the step-by-step, that gives you a transcript for a video right there.
That's correct. That's correct. And that's what I've done a couple times when I made some of the gym videos, too. Especially the one I'm doing at 9 o'clock at night. They don't understand. I sent 3 emails with different ways of saying it. They didn't quite get it. Then I'll take them. That's the gym video. Okay. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you do these surveys, and I will hang around for just a few minutes and answer the questions. And I am doing another Bird Defender workshop at 3:30. I think it's room 204 upstairs. And that's going to be a collaborative learning, so feel free to jump on in that one. Thank you, everybody. Glad you came. Oh, there's freebie stuff.